guys, I've just rejuvenated my pink hair. So I have filmed for you how I actually dye it. So if you're interested in seeing that, keep watching and watch right to the end where I give you my top 5 tips on how to actually dye your hair pink and how to keep it that way. Hey guys, okay, so I'm just back from the hairdresser. This is how my hair looks after I have my roots bleached. This is the colour we're going to be using today. It's the Nutricolor Creme Colour by Revlon. I've got my cup and spoon, very technical, and I just tend to use any conditioner because we're going to use a whole bunch, so I'm not too picky on which one I use. This one is a Tresemme conditioner. I just make sure that whichever one I choose doesn't have a colour to it. I once chose a pink conditioner and that made it tricky to see what colour my mixture was. So I just squirt in a little bit of the colour and mix it up, see what sort of colour it looks like. And you want the colour in the cup to be fairly true to the colour that you want in your hair. If anything, you want the colour to be slightly more vibrant in the cup because it will be diluted a little bit when you put it on your hair once it absorbs in and mixes with the slightly more yellowy tones, because obviously your hair isn't going to be as white as the conditioner is. So this is the colour that my mixture was to get my hair the shade of pink that you saw at the start of the video. So now it's time to actually start dyeing your hair. So it's important to brush it through, make sure there's no knots so that it spreads through evenly. You want to section off your hair so that you're working with one layer at a time and just get started. So I clip up the top part of my hair so it's all out of the way, and then I get my very technical applicators, being my fingers, and I dip that into the dye. Now the pink dye doesn't really stain my hands. I once did do purple hair and that certainly stained, but I don't worry about it with the pink. It doesn't stain my hands at all. And since it doesn't stain, I don't worry about using gloves or anything. I find that it's so much easier without gloves because I can feel which parts of my hair are wet, which parts are dry. So when I'm doing the back of my hair myself, it makes it a lot easier. So what you want to do is get an individual section of hair, just make sure you're coating it really well, front and back, really massaging the colour in, making sure you do it right up to the top of your roots, and then just do that all over your head. So pull down each section and just keep going until your whole head is covered with the dye. And that's about it. So after that, I usually leave the colour in for about 40 odd minutes and then wash it out. So these are my top 5 tips for getting your hair pink and keeping it that way. So the first one is to dye your hair when it has been shampooed but not conditioned. And that's just because the shampoo clears off any sort of oil or anything that's going to stop the dye from sticking. But conditioner, if you conditioned it, would then put a coating over it, which puts a barrier between the colour and your hair, and that's not what you want. My second tip is to make sure that after you shampoo your hair, before you dye it, you dry it completely. And that is because if your hair's wet, it's just going to dilute the formula and it's not going to dye as well. My third tip is to buy a more vibrant colour than what you're wanting your hair to be and mix that up with conditioner. And that's good for 2 reasons. The first one is it obviously saves you money. Like the tube of pink hair dye that you saw me use will last me 6 months because I only use like a teaspoon or 2 mixed with a cup of conditioner each time. Whereas if I bought a colour that was a pale pink, I would use the whole tube each time. And the second thing is that then you've got all this conditioner in your hair, which helps to hydrate your hair when you're dyeing it all the time. Once you've left the dye in for about 40 minutes or so, when you do go to wash your hair, make sure you wash it with cool water. So when you do wash it, it's hard to wash it with completely cold water because the conditioner will just never come out. But as cool of water as you can, 1, standing in, and 2, to actually get the conditioner out. The warmer the water that you use, the more of the dye that you lose. And number 5, my last tip, is to let your hair dry naturally. You want to use as little heat on your hair as you can when you're dyeing it a colour like this because it makes it fade. So I always let my hair dry naturally, try not to use the hairdryer, and when I do curl my hair, try and do it a bit more curly than what I want so that it will last over a few days and I don't have to curl it every day. Those are my top 5 tips. I hope you enjoyed my video. If you did like it, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Gotta love when you have to go move your car and you've got all your foils in. Very glamorous, very fashion.